Om. Om. Omkaram bindu samyuktam nityam dayanti yoginaha kamadam mokshadam chaiva Omkaraya namo namaha Omkaraya namo namaha Omkaraya namo namaha. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nisprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Om. Om. Welcome to North Carolina. Welcome to Satsang. Welcome to everybody online. I think Krishna Priya has arranged it. If there are questions online, you can post them to the chat. I think that's what she's arranged for. And then if we're able to, we'll take questions, reflections, inquiries from there. So,
presence. Is Andrew awake? Yes.
we have two Andrews.
Andrew Small. There's also Andrew
Yes.
in Miami.
Uh-huh.
The question he asked was on my mind before, and then we spoke, and so it's with me this morning. And I think to come all the way to the end, everyone will fill in themselves. Presence.
Just for the microphone.
What is it to be present in all the ways, at all times? perhaps to just, blow it all the way out. If there are multiple dimensions and we're in other places at the same time, other times at the same time, and we're meditating at this very moment, and this is physical incarnation, Andrew asked, it feels so different to be in each other's physical presence. And yet, when I'm apart, I have the glimpses that it's just as real. So, if that's a question, or it's musings on how to be present.
Yeah. In the experience and the appearance of awakening, there is a sense of expanding, right? Identified in the body and in the mind, we feel limited to the space inside of the skin. Yes? And then as we expand iteratively into the bodies outside of Annamaya kosha, into the other koshas, into the other bodies that envelop, that contain the physical body, there is a sense of also expanding one's presence into space itself. And in this process, one experiences what is transpersonal, moving beyond mind, beyond past, beyond attachment or identification with thought patterns, memory patterns, both nostalgias and traumas. And the proprioceptive I sense, the proprioceptive I, that I perceive myself to be, still in the relative, it expands from something limited, minuscule, to gradually more and more expansive, and even can feel non-local, right? Meaning expanding in time, not just in space. That expanding in space, no longer confined to this body, the sense of I filling the room. I remember one time years ago walking through the airport with such tall ceilings and feeling like I needed to duck. I mean, it was silly and absurd at the same time, but the sense of I expands so much that it feels like me is bigger, The body didn't. Well, let's not even go there. But also this sense of limitation of the now moment. Now seems to be something really sort of limited, wedged, tiny little comma between past and future at first for the one who's identified. But you see, even the sense of now begins to expand to begin to encompass, maybe let's say, the last hour and the next hour, all contained in now. The last day and the next day, all contained in now. And then eventually, as we expand, the personal identified, the attachment to the thought patterns calling itself I, and when we move past that, we come back to the initial I sense, the Somebody referenced this the other day. It's called aham vritti. And it's the sense of I that moves. Before this, there's called Brahma vritti. This vritti is it's a whirlpool of self-affirming, sort of like a dog chasing its tail, or a snake eating its tail. And in the aham vritti, it is the I sense. It's really quite beautiful. Relatively speaking, much more pleasant than the conditioning chasing itself, the suffering chasing itself, reaffirming itself. And so this Brahma vritti encompasses all of time and space. It is the field of mind itself, the mind that creates time and space, all of time. All of time and all of space. And then Yahonathan is also now referencing a sense of different dimensions, other space-time fields of experience, let's say. And the sense that they're happening simultaneously. What's my advice usually in the initial onset of these expansive experiences? Don't freak out. These things, even in this realm, what we call reality, more and more people will be experiencing this expansive state of being. And let me share with you, each new opening, each new realm soon becomes familiar. You become acclimated as both the witness of it and the I that's navigating in the experience of it simultaneously. And like with every, even in this, in what you call your life, this life, you have been so many things from when you were 1 year to 5 years to 10, 20, 30 years old, and you have acclimated at each new identity. The identities have changed so many times. This is not different from that. We have this sense of acclimation, and ultimately, even in this incredible expansiveness, it only just ever feels like this is what it is to be me. Not really so special, not so precious, nothing to cling to. And it's open and free. So, this sense of presence seems to expand, to be more and more inclusive, not just of in the perceptual apparent reality, accepting all the things that arise in one's internal environment, the landscape called me, the I sense, thoughts, emotions, nervous system, hunger in the belly, ache in the knee, the internal environment, accepting of all of it, and accepting of all of the happenings in the external environment. And all of this really sort of is expressed very, very simply as soften and allow to whatever is happening internally, including the patterns of thought, identified or detached, matters not to you as the witness. and to the happenings in the external environment. Soften and allow. This softening and allowing is the very vehicle, you could say, that will invite this sense of expansiveness. And the antithesis of this, what we call the egoic identity, is clinging so tightly, constricted around I know, around the past, as a sense of coming to know oneself as subject in the world of objects. And without that memory, it has no information with which to navigate. And so the clinging, the clenching is to past, to memory and interpretation of past experience. As presence appears to expand, it was never limited to begin with, of course. This is only an evolution of one's sense of I-ness in the isness. And so the perception seems to shift in appearance, in the reflective mind. But in truth, presence has never been limited, not once. Has always been omnipresent. There's nowhere that's able to hide from presence. No place and no time that is excluded from presence. From actually the now. It's all included. Nothing is ever excluded. Nothing in you, in your past, is excluded from the full bliss of this ever expansive, ever expanding now. So this practice, which is, we were talking about this recently, this practice of soften and allow is a verb. It's a process. So you're actually in this softening. You relax the muscles in the body. You gently create some gentle distance between you and your thoughts. You gently, through, let's say, forgiveness, release your constant evaluation of yourself, what's happening in you and what's happening outside of you. And so this soften and allow really is, this practice alone can bring you to the place of all-inclusiveness. Even it happens that as one expands, this I-ness and this isness are gradually seem to be expressions of the same thing, where this I-ness is the isness. The isness is the I-ness. And you could say that simultaneously nothing is happening and everything is happening inside of you, as I. To the ego, to the egoic identity, the one that we're all familiar with, this limitation is familiar, and it gives us a sense of comfort. And when the boundaries of this seem to fall away, it can produce some anxiety in us, because it's unknown. Like maybe it's akin to the anxiety of riding a bicycle for the first time, or surfing a wave, or maybe even better, like jumping out of a plane, with a parachute. It actually can feel like this, a free fall. But know that in this presence, it has always been, it has never been limited. You, as in it and as it, have never once been limited. There has never been peril. So, the sense of anxiety that arises in expanding is only comes from the experiencer, which had known, had become comfortable in the limitation, comfortable in the constriction. But it's only a perceived sense of expanding. You've never once been constricted or limited. And so there's never really any peril in it. And you simply, the experience, as the experiencer in this, navigating this ever expanding, unfolding, the blossoming of, it's like the unfolding of a flower, like this. And you just become gradually accustomed to now this, now this, now this. And you in it are always a beginner. It's almost like the scene precedes the I entering it. I heard one sage say, "This was all here when I got here." And what is at first can produce some anxiety in this expansion, this anxiety is itself non-different from what you will soon experience as ecstasy of being. It's true, actually, that the vibration, the frequency of what's perceived by the egoic identity as anxiety, this same frequency, this same vibration is itself ecstasy. And that it's called anxiety and experienced anxiety because it's seen from a place of limitation, but seen from another place of expansion, it now is ecstasy. And I know that in Sangha, a resonance is created, and many of you are beginning to experience this and sharing it also. You can see that from this place where anxiety is ecstasy, you can also see that pleasure and pain are also the same. You come to see that excitement and suffering also the same, or excitement and depression, you might say. And joy and melancholy, at a subtler version of all of this, seem to just sort of gently dance around each other. And they're experienced simultaneously as bliss. But before the merging of this, we experience pleasant and then unpleasant, pleasure then pain, intoxication then hangover, good then bad. But all of these things, as the presence, the proprioceptive sense of I expands into the presence that pre-exists the expansion, then you see them as the same. The pairs of opposites There's a yoga between them. Hmm? And Noah marches them right up into the ark, 2 by 2, right into your own heart, your own Noah's ark, the pairs of opposites, and then the flood, and then a new dimension of awareness. Who knew Noah was an Advaitin? It's okay? Something more? Balance, I think, is really maybe the most important thing as one is anointed or initiated into the sense of expansive self. Always, the thing to watch for is the egoic identity claiming the new experience. So this takes bliss and turns it into excitement. And where there is excitement, there will soon be a crash. Exuberance is wonderful if it's kept and curated with great humility and gratitude in the space of your own heart. In the world, be sober and still and quiet. The ego will, it's like a reverse leapfrog. Jumps behind you and claims the experience. And this, you'll see, it will happen over and over again. So when the expansion happens, know that it comes from total stillness. The sense of expansion cannot happen without that anchor. So don't pull up the anchor. Don't set sail right away. Become integrated and balanced. We say grounded. I don't love the word grounded, but grounding is very helpful. When these starts to happen, you put your feet in the earth, in the grass. You garden. Get your hands dirty. Be with trees and with nature. It's also, by the way, very trustworthy as you navigate this traverse. Nisargadatta Maharaj says, truth, wisdom is knowing I'm nothing. Love is knowing I'm everything. And between the two, my life moves. A dance. A dance in the center of nothing and everything. The middle way, the way of balance, is essential. So, this means that for as blissful or as intoxicated as you become, you must be equally sober. As much as the inside is dancing in a rejoice, there must be stillness. That the dance is contained in stillness, and the stillness is contained in the dance. Stillness is at the center of movement, and movement is at the center of stillness simultaneously. These are, maybe it seems esoteric, philosophical, But if it's not direct for you now, it's a seed planted that these words will be recalled as you enter this traverse of the expanding sense of self. Just recently in Satsang, we were talking about the imperative of giving the past back to the past, leaving the past in the past. And this alone will allow something new to enter. This giving the past back to the past, this is what's called forgiveness. You see? This releasing or letting go, this unclinging, is called non-judgment. It means getting comfortable in I don't know. It means getting comfortable in the discomfort, the initial onset of discomfort of I don't know. Then and only then will the experience follow into these new realms of joy. And also know this in the navigating. I like to think of it as the perfect cocktail of beingness is joy with a deep gratitude and humility. Joy without gratitude and humility, watch out. You're in for a crash. Humility without joy, I mean, you see where it goes. So this also is part of this balancing, this surfing. Always in the stillness, always adapting to what's arising. And a really skilled surfer just puts another ounce of pressure on the right toe, and the surfboard responds. And I was reminded in this recent satsang where we were all invited into how did I say, let dead dogs lie? Is that how it's?
Sleeping.
Let sleeping dogs lie? I think that doesn't apply here. If it were dead dogs, no. You leave the past to the past. You leave what is dead to what is dead. And this is the practice of this is called forgiveness. In the culmination of forgiveness, in the consummation of forgiveness, having forgiven and received forgiveness, one moves into a place of non-judgment. Forgiveness bears the fruit of compassion. Compassion bears the fruit of non-judgment. Non-judgment bears the fruit of freedom. And I was reminded in this exploration recently that what came through some months ago, which was, it said very clearly, you are not living the lives you want to because you're busy feeding the lives you don't want to. Means attention of the mind is past. Yeah. It's really quite remarkable, and it will also become very clear and obvious to you that the world reveals to you where it is you're looking from, what it is you're looking through. So the world is guru, is a mirror to you, to show you where it is you're looking from, what the lens of perception is, and how occluded it may or may not be. But it's a funny thing, this, because, and you'll come to see it in yourself, you'll come to see it in others, that you have made it what it is by perception, by they're called sanskaras, they're the impressions in the lens of perception that really, it's like a lens of confirmation bias, means you see it as you have seen it. In a way, it naturally affirms what it is you think of yourself and what you think of the world. And this is the really kind of a strange thing about what we call the egoic identity, is that somehow it perceives itself as the lens. But the lens is nothing more than an instrument, for the most part malfunctioning, or just needs some good polishing. Huh? But somehow the I sense is able to move itself into something that is nothing more than an instrument, that is insentient. Think of it this way, like you have a new sweater, huh? And you wear it out, and the first three people you see say, "Wow, what a beautiful sweater. It looks so good on you. The color is perfect on your eyes." And you're like, "Ah, how wonderful." But the fourth person says, "Ew, where'd you get that? Kmart? You know? Huh? Does your sense of self flow with this? Because you see what's happening. You're identified with sweater. Huh? Sweater has become an extension of yourself, and now is your identity. And what people say about it means something to you. It's a bit silly, isn't it? But your personality is a sweater. And you wove it, you knitted it yourself. It's a weave, a tapestry. That's, that this is what I am. No, it's not. Somebody calls you a name, some praise, and you feel good about yourself. Some criticism. One day you will be free of having any investment in what other people say about you. And when that happens, you'll see that everything that is said are just layers and layers. They're just different sweaters. My sweater doesn't like your sweater. These are often what are referred to as veils. That we don't see so clearly through them. Somehow these lenses have, these veils have a way of, we identify as them. Recently, I likened it to like a soap bubble. You know, like a child with like the bubble, blowing so many bubbles. And I've seen it this way. It's like you're this glorious bubble, three-dimensional, at least. And there's this beautiful reflection of light. Reflecting the world around. And there's the space within the bubble and the space outside of the bubble. The bubble means the sudsy, the thin sudsy film that seems to temporarily encase the space, right? The ego, it's remarkable. The ego thinks itself to be maybe like 1 square inch of the film, the forward-facing part of the film, like crammed into this tiny space, so limited. It doesn't see the totality of the sudsiness itself, the full globe of its actual existence, and has no sense of the vast space inside of it. When you become aware of the full sphere of the container of this I sense, and you become aware of the fullness of the empty space inside of you, and then you become aware that that space inside of you is non-different than the space outside of you. It's just a temporary, beautiful, seems to separate inner and outer in this beautiful reflection of light. Where's the space now? Was it ever contained? Behind you and around you, inside of you, there is more you than you have any idea. It's so beautiful. This sense of limitation, this really sense of constriction, confinement, is the you could say this misunderstanding, that this thought that you're somehow limited in this way, is the the yogis would say, these upadhis are the cause of samsara, of suffering. And from this sense of limitation, and not wanting to be limited, because there's a deep, deep memory that is your inheritance or birthright, as it said, of unlimitedness. And so desire for not limited arises, expresses as attraction and aversion. Still taking yourself to be limited and not wanting to be limited, moving in the world. But if you turn in and find the vastness of the you that's inside the tiniest little space in your heart, the size of a mustard seed, that the fullness of existence is in that. And it's so funny because, it all sounds so fantastical perhaps, but the way there, very simply, is forgiveness. Forgiveness into compassion, compassion into non-judgment, non-judgment into dispassion, vairagya, equanimity, unconditioned love, unlimited love. This, by the way, is not outside of you. It is not excluded to some other realm. I would say truly that this is the full expression of human adulthood. That it is human to become transpersonal. That it is human to occupy the full space within your body. The body is not rejected. The personality itself is not excluded from this. It continues as an appearance, as a vehicle. The body and the mind becomes a vehicle for the divine to love and serve. God loved the world so much. He gave the world his only begotten Son. That's you. The full expression of infinite love comes through a hollow reed. This is human. You can experience this in your lifetime, just like you moved from preteen to teen, through puberty into adolescence. But if you look at the world stage and what you perceive as world, there is very little evidence of human adulthood, isn't there? In our own selves, of course, too, right? There's little evidence of it. It's so much adolescence. Right? So many people being as loud as they possibly can, promoting and defending their opinions, but having no idea, really. And yet there's something so beautiful about adolescence, isn't there? It's absolutely necessary in order to move from dependence through codependence into independence. Oh. Anyway, I think there are some things in the chat.
Yes. First question from Andrew. Are the perspective shifts you mentioned before just, quote, symptoms of the unfolding along the path? Does the propriospective shifts, does the propriospective sense eventually return to the body stably?
To the body
stably.
stably.
albeit perhaps felt differently than before? Or do we land permanently at the proprioceptive sense of I that is categorically different than the body-centered sense from before awakening?
Well, find out. Find out. You know, everybody do this. And this. Whose face? So many of us in this lifetime have had the experience of our consciousness moving into the body. We become consciously aware of being in the body. Many of us have said it like, I didn't know it, but I was limited to this. This was the realm of my experience. And prior to expanding into the body, into the conscious awareness of I inhabit this body, and I'm just speaking from the experience of one moving into that and noticing the contrast. I can't say it's where I would speak from now, but just to illuminate it, this one would say, okay, I get it. The body was always there. It's not like I was, stupid to the fact, but I was not inhabiting it. So you could say the relationship to the body changes dramatically and continues to change dramatically. The more you explore within yourself, the more you will find this vast, vast, inconceivable, infinite emptiness. There's this wonderful story at Yogaville, Swami Satchidananda's ashram in Virginia. They made a murti, like a statue, a cast, a bronze cast, something like this, of his torso and head. No, he's in full Padmasana. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's done, it's delivered, and it's installed, and then Swami Satchidananda, the guru of this ashram, comes to inspect it, and he touches it, and he just tilts it, and he's like, it's hollow. And then we're worried, that maybe we skimped on budget, and it should have been solid brass, and 2 cranes to get it there, and all of this. And he smiled and he said, just like me, hollow. Empty, empty, empty. Empty to the egoic mind has this connotation of not so good. Empty. You will come to know empty as synonymous with bliss. And so the relationship with the body changes so dramatically. It's really something. Even the pain in the body is some beautiful expression. Maybe not preferable. The Zoom is trying to... So maybe it's not preferable, that there are aches and pains and all of this. And but the simultaneous sense of emptiness and fullness, that the emptiness is the fullness. Wherever it is we kind of are, we would say that we should always come back to the practical, to the pragmatic. Means being squarely who it is that you perceive yourself to be in every given moment. A full authenticity, this honesty, how I perceive myself to be in this moment, who's speaking. And I've heard it said, maybe those of you who know Hawkins better than me, it seems that, they talk about the vibration of love being so high, and I wonder if the vibration of authenticity isn't even higher still, of sincerity, even if it's somewhere short of what we might call love. That it's the most important thing. We hear it expressed as, to thine own self be true, right? From this place of honest sense of oneself, you move from here. You stop moving here. Huh? Wanting to be so-called further along on the path of seeker, the frustration of feeling like you've backpedaled a little bit, to just be honest in that. From here, spirituality is not ethereal, it is highly practical and pragmatic. Honesty, self-honesty, authenticity, and sincerity is the most important thing. It means no pretending and no hiding, at least to one's own self. And so from here, if thine own self in this moment feels limited, feels unhappiness or depression or pain, resentment, be that. And know that that is welcome here. It's welcome here. It's embraced. And that is never excluded. Remember we were saying before, the presence excludes nothing. There's no place that's rejected by the presence. No place in space and no place in time. No part of you is rejected in the now, in presence. You come as you are. Be as you are. And then simultaneously know this. You have been, thought yourself to be, honestly, so many different things in what you call your life. So know that this thine own self is fluid. So it's tricky. Because thine own self isn't a concept, and it isn't tethered to your name. It's how you are sincerely in this moment, completely as you think yourself and feel yourself to be. Not rejected. Certainly not by me, but I'll invite you, please, not by you either. Be in a full embrace of your own self. Shameless, as we've been saying. And from here, in that sincerity, you proceed. Remember, we keep saying recently, a monk meditating in the woods with his master. And he says, and they're meditating, and And some time passes and the monk says, Master, from where do I enter the Tao? Master says, Do you hear the stream off in the distance? So the monk settles into presence, into the space of hearing, expanding his sense of self, hearing. Stream trickling. Ah, I hear it, yes. Master says, enter from there. A half hour passes. Timidly, Master? Yes. What if I said no? I couldn't hear the stream. Master says, Then I would have said, enter from there. Means so many things. Means 1,000 things, this little parable. But one of the things it means is you be as you are, you come as you are, you enter from where you are. There are no hoops for you to jump through to enter into the presence. There is no amount of self-improvement that you can undertake to qualify you to enter the presence, because you're already in it. It's already in you. You've heard it said so many times by so many teachers. It is closer to you than the you that you think you are. But don't hear it. Don't hear it as a concept, closer to me. You've heard it probably said so many times. What you were seeking is already where you are looking from. But we can hear these things so many times and they become something, oh yeah, I've heard that. I know that teaching. No. No. No, it's not a concept. It points to before concept, before conception. Enter from where you are, come as you are. When we sit together tonight and tomorrow, you will not be the same one. You will not be the same one. And I guarantee you, nor will I. Every moment is an invitation into empty, empty, empty. Like a child with an enthusiastic curiosity. I have no idea what's happening here, but it's all play. Until you give them too much sugar, and then There's this habit of idealizing childhood in spiritual talk. It's not entirely true, though, is it? It may be worth, a genuine inquiry, like to look in yourself, from that place of seeker. Who do you think you need to be in order to qualify to seek? What part of you is not good enough to proceed on the path? Find it and see it's not true. Is there something else?
There's something from Sam. It's just so you're aware of time. It's 8:25. So Sam says, I am the soul and the soul is sentience. Does that mean the mind and body are insentient? Like a driver and a car. The car drives neither itself nor the driver, but then where does the ego come from?
Where does what come from?
Ego.
Oh, yeah. Where indeed? Okay. This is this is the heart of what's called the great mystery. That the spark of life is imbued in something insentient. What is insentient doesn't mean not run by intelligence, okay? And doesn't mean that the body can't seem to have its own intelligence, but it doesn't. It is insentient. It is, what did we call it yesterday? Oscar Mayer body. It's a meat.
Oscar Mayer kosher.
Oscar Mayer kosher. It's baloney. It's meat. It's the product of what you've eaten. And the mind is the same, also a product of what you have eaten. You call it my thoughts, you call it my body, but it's a product, object. You are not an object. You're not even a subject. So yes, mind and body are insentient, and as such you cannot be either. And they are vehicles, you could say, or instruments. And they are run by an intelligence, but they of themselves, they are not intelligent. No. Mind is reflective. It's a mirror. You could say maybe two-way mirror or something like this, or a series of mirrors. Fun house. Or not so fun house. But it is run by on energy and intelligence, and it can appear, and in a way it can be an honest perception, not entirely true, but honest and meaningful, that the body seems to have its own intelligence. But the heart does not beat itself. And the blood doesn't flow on its own. So this Oscar Mayer kosha, this Annamaya kosha, exists within contained within pranamaya kosha, within the energy source that animates the body. You're also not that. Exists within manamaya kosha, what's generally referred to as lower mind. Exists within higher mind, vijnanamaya kosha. Also not that. It doesn't mean the body is rejected. Doesn't mean it's not meaningful. It's extremely meaningful, more so than when you were identified with it. Detached from body, body becomes something wonderful and actually can shift also into something more and more wonderful. Your skin and bones made into something beautiful. So it's not to be rejected. It's not to be rejected. Mortification is no bueno. It's truly, even the Advaitin who comes to understand non-dual, there's nothing to reject. Nothing is excluded. And not only that nothing false needs to be discarded, how could you reject something that's false? But that appearances are not a problem. So it's a common on the path of Advaita, on the path of Jnana Yoga, on the path of the Via Negativa or Neti Neti. It's a common mistake to reject. But this is aversion, and as aversion, non-different from attraction, and the root of all suffering. Raga, dvesha, attraction and aversion. Nothing to be rejected. Simply soften and allow. Forgive and forget. Then you'll see. For your own self, you'll see. No need to believe this. But you must see for yourself. Even if you approach it with some skepticism, which is advisable, I think. But approach. Investigate your own self. You must know for yourself. Come back from the place of seeing and tell me I'm a fool. But not before. Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings and all the worlds be happy. Thank you to the seers and sages and saints of all time who are so generous. Thank you. Love you.